get up and dash 100 meters and I would eat up the competition. It's just non-existent. I kick my feet up. Thought I was passing till I got blasted.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries as we discuss AEW Dynamite from January the 5th, right? January the 5th, 2021, the beginning of the TBS era. It was a mixed bag, as AEW tends to be. A guy broke his arm, but that's the price we got to pay. You know, we got to pay the price for great wrestling. All right, so we start the show with the AEW World Title match. Hangman Page defeats Bryan Danielson with the buckshot lariat at about 35 minutes into the show. So that means ring time, it probably would have been around 30 minutes, maybe 31, 32 minutes. This match was infinitely more interesting than their previous contest, but at the same time, the way that they worked this match took me out of it. So the judges, they had judges for this match, not like we needed them, but they had judges, which were Mark Henry, Paul White, and Jerry Lynn. Okay. Everybody believed that we would actually need judges because we actually went through the trouble of having judges. So there that go. So, okay. So the Hangman bladed. I don't even remember what he bladed on. He was just bleeding at one point. This led to Page headbutting Bryan Danielson later in the match, causing him to bleed. So they were both bleeding and headbutting each other, and it was pretty wild. There was a nice spot where Hangman caught Bryan Danielson as he did a tope suicida through the ropes and hit him with an overhead belly-to-belly. That was nice. The Bazaiku knee, which is one of Bryan Danielson's finishes. He only got a 2 count on that. Page had also survived the label lock. So apparently everything Bryan Danielson tried to do, Hangman Page was already prepared for it. But it only took one buckshot lariat to win the match. Okay, I'm fine with this. Bryan Danielson, if you can't lose to the champion, you can't lose to anybody. So Danielson lost to Page, no big deal, no skin off of anybody's ass. Match was a little long for my taste. Especially what took me out of the match really was the amount of stalling at the beginning. You know, it tells me clearly that they're about to go for a long period of time when they're stalling. Also didn't really need all the blading because I don't feel like it added that much to the match. And I feel like if you blade in every goddamn match, then it doesn't mean anything anymore. Also, I felt like Hangman Page had a lot of offense to fight the fact that he was bleeding. You know, blading didn't really affect him. But that's kind of the point of blading, is that blading is supposed to affect you. You're supposed to be like the blood loss is slowing you down. The blood loss is making everything so difficult. But it was never a point in time where he was just constantly being beaten down. And, you know, the heat was piling on. And then he fired up and fired back. And then finally won. It just felt like it was 50-50. Sometimes 60-40. Sometimes 55-45. It was never Danielson is in complete control of this match. And it's looking like it's about to be down for Hangman. He was just hanging in there, pretty much the whole time, which defeats the point of blading. You know, the point of adding an injury to a match, an injured arm, an injured leg, working the legs. The reason you work the leg is so that you can get heat by working the leg. The reason you blade is so that you can work the injury. You could, put your fingers in there like Abdullah the Butcher and reach at it and put your elbow in there and, the blood gets into the eyes. So, everything is, blurry and they're trying to find the ropes and they can't, it's supposed to add drama to it, not just color, like all this blood does is just add color to things. It doesn't add drama to it. So I don't really think it was necessary, but I still think they had a pretty good match. I just feel like they could have shaved a good 5 minutes off of it. They could have shaved 5 minutes out of this thing. It would have been really, really good. But a single finish gets it done. I'm okay with that. Cool. Yes, Danielson took a power driver on the ring apron. It is what it is, man. AEW, as we will learn as we go through this show, AEW is the home of the bulletproof midget. You could do whatever you want to these midgets. They're skinny, but my God, they're basically elastic. You could just throw them up against the wall, drop them on their head 100 different ways. They'll be perfectly fine. So, instead of telling it's supposed to be that AEW doesn't ignore stories. You would think that Bryan Danielson, with his history of concussions and neck injuries, that kind of stuff would play in to the finish, But no. So it is what it is. It was still a good match though. I definitely liked it more than I liked the first match. I could have did without that hour. All right, so the Acclaimed called Sting boomers, a boomer, and that they stood tall in the face of this boomer who gets into their business, and that they're going to handle their business the old-fashioned way, the way that the new generation does it. They're going to have a music video, and I just whatever, dog. Okay, so MJF and Shawn Dean were supposed to have a match. MJF was introduced. Shawn Dean was already in the ring. CM Punk ran into the ring. MJF fled. Shawn Dean motioned for MJF to get back into the ring. Gets GTS for his troubles. And CM Punk got MJF disqualified. For some odd reason, the bell had already rung, despite the fact that MJF was barely in the ring. But okay, cool. So Punk said this was going to happen every time MJF has a match until this bitch fights him. So MJF is now 0-1 on 2022 because they reset the records every year. So Punk's plan is to make MJF get disqualified every time he tries to have a match until he fights him. That was his plan. He can't win a title. He can't be a contender if he keeps losing by count out and disqualification, apparently. And I thought about it and I was like, is it a solid plan? Not really, but okay, let's go with it. So MJF then got a microphone because he had already lost. Shawn Dean, he's an Iron Man. He was so powerful, he managed to beat MJF without even touching him. He looked at MJF, and MJF did the job. That's excellence, dog. In any event, MJF said that everything CM Punk says is fake, and he induces boredom. Then said that everything Punk, without him, Punk is nothing, that he makes Punk relevant, gives Punk an edge, and he's not the savior that the people waited for. The crowd chanted PG Punk at CM Punk at this point because he had been calling them that. Said that CM Punk got real sensitive when he talked about Roddy Piper, and said that Roddy Piper main event at WrestleMania, unlike CM Punk, because he has talent. And then he says if he doesn't get the proper respect, he will go down and main event a WrestleMania 2. This allowed CM Punk to say, look, I'm just trying to kick your ass. And said that he should go. If you're going to keep teasing to leave, please go. Main event a buy one, get one, day 4 extravaganza. Or something to that effect. MJF just said he's going to have to fight Wardlow. That's pretty much it. This whole thing is, it of course is, the constant WWE stuff, and most people are okay with it because they think this harkens back to the Attitude Era. I don't remember. I lived through that shit. I don't remember there being WCW references every week. Or WWF references every week on WCW. They was too busy doing their own thing. Not to say that there weren't, the occasional diss back and forth, when somebody found it necessary, or, maybe when somebody was bitter, like when somebody jumped ship from one side to the other, like a Jeff Jarrett or something like that. Somebody would take a minute to, diss the other company or something like that. But there was nobody who, had this, who needed this so badly and then claimed to be over it. It's like, at this point, every time CM Punk even mentions or somebody mentions WWE, a fucking song just hops into my head. It goes, I know I brought it on myself. I owe no blame to no one else. And now I realize I can't get over you. And though I do my very best, I just can't find happiness. And it's all because I can't get over you. Oh, it wouldn't be funny if I could sing. I'm sorry. But that's the song that just pops into my fucking head every time CM Punk even mentions WWE. It's like, he needs this. Come on, guys. Don't even get upset. Don't eye roll. Don't do anything. Just give him the reaction that he wants. He needs this. This is what his character is based on now. He knows. And I said this, I don't know, maybe right after he debuted. What was he going to do without WWE to rage against? You know, that's what he needed. He needed a John Cena or a Vince McMahon or somebody to oppress him in order for him to have, material. And we're just proving it right now. He just needs WWE. He needs the material, man. Let him have the material. It is what it is. Don't care. But I feel bad for Sean Dean. I really do. He just went in there and got beat up. And it is what it is. Moving on. Chris Jericho came out there. Jericho says he ain't been on TBS since 1999 when he lost a match to Booker T. And then he said he think Booker T cheated. I got a little kick out of that. That was actually funny. So now he's back to get revenge, not to help Eddie Kingston 2.0, who now have theme music. Speaking of theme music, I should back up for a second. I actually like Bryan Daniels' theme music. It won me over. I listened to a version of it on YouTube with the chants and everything in it. That's dope. Not only did they remix his WWE thing with a hip hop version, but they put the chants in there. But you can't really hear the chants through TV. So when you're listening to the chants, it's like with the claps and everything, it's real dope. I really like it. So that's that's neither here nor there. I just like his theme song now. I hated it at first, but it grew on me. It's one of those things where it was like an earworm, dog. Once I started hearing it, I was like, ugh. Okay. 2.0 have theme music. I don't know why. Then they came out there. Jericho did his bit, because Jericho has a bit every time. He called him Terrence and Phillip, which of course is a rip on them being Canadian. Then he called Matt a squarehead and called the other guy a pinhead. And he kept going, squarehead, pinhead, squarehead, pinhead. And I was like, man, put my fucking head in a vice. This is like a casino. Just put my fucking head in a vice until my eye pops out. Like, enough. Get to the fucking point. Then, of course, 2.0 jumped him. Eddie Kingston and his homies come running down to the ring to make the save. And now they're going to have a street fight or something or other. A 6-man street fight or whatever the fuck on Rampage. And I said, fuck you. There's a street fight every week. Every week there's a street fight of some sort. Man, that's the laziest shit in the world, dog. Like, these guys barely brush into each other for 1 or 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, it's street fight time, dog. I'm like, okay. Sure. Nah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I watch too much wrestling. I just see too many street fights, too many no disqualification matches. I'm tired of them. Man, this is where I needed like a Ring of Honor or something. Even fucking New Japan, they had a street fight. Well, it was no disqualification match. And I was like, fuck, I can't get away from this shit. It's everywhere. The entire business has become inundated with no disqualification matches. It's the laziest shit in the world. Can we please get a... That's why I was kind of glad about the first match, Danielson and Hangman. Until I started seeing them blade for no reason. I was like, oh, fuck, I just can't get away from this shit. It's so unnecessary. And it's just inundated the entire business. It's ridiculous. Adam Cole is back there with Red Dragon. I forgot what I called them. What was my nickname for them? The Irrefutable Era. That's what I called them. Adam Cole promised that they're going to create a super group. Kyle O'Reilly looked less than enthused about this. Bobby Fish, he looks like he sees a hot chick in the distance that he wants to hit on. And anyway, he's talking about forming this super group and being unstoppable. Then he challenged Jake Atlas and then said that he wants Jake to prove that he's the guy everyone's still talking about. And I was like, huh? Okay, whatever. And I said, this is a very weird position for you to put Jake Atlas in. I mean, if he beats Adam Cole, then you've beat Adam Cole. And everybody's going to be talking about Adam Cole. Everybody's going to be talking about Adam Cole losing to Jake Atlas. And look, I know that a lot of people in AEW think Jake Atlas is great. I will say honestly, before he came to NXT, I didn't know who he was. I saw some of what he can do in NXT. I still think he's not that bad, but I mean, he was kind of plain to me. He wasn't a good promo. He had okay matches, I don't know. You know, we'll see. But should he be beating Adam Cole? Probably not. Should he be losing his first real match on the I guess you would say quote unquote main roster of AEW? No. So this is a weird position to even put the guy in. How about he should have been on this show and he could have worked and wrestled and won a match or whatever, and then we do that some other way. Now, another interesting thing when it comes to Jake Atlas is when he's still doing the cartwheel DDT thing, which I hate because it's a stupid finish. But they called it the Stonewall DDT, and if I remember correctly, the Stonewall riots were like gay riots. It was called like the Rainbow, the LGBT DDT or whatever in NXT, and I thought that's what he called it on the Independence, but I'm guessing they've changed the name of it. And all right, sure, whatever. Everybody seems to be just bless his heart when it comes to Jake Atlas, and they treat him like he's one of their pets or something like that. No, the guy's gonna have to earn his compliments just like everybody else, especially from me. I don't have nothing against Jake Atlas, so he's not exactly a blank slate. But and I don't hold that he retired against him. You know, he had mental health problems, and he talked about that. He was pretty open about it. He probably just needed some time to go and do other things and clear his mind up and come back. And there's nothing wrong with that. So Wardlow wrestled some guy. Shawn Spears attacked the guy before the match. Reasons unknown. Then told Wardlow to just pin the guy. I don't understand what they're doing here. I don't understand what the point of this is, where Shawn Spears is trying to feed Wardlow these easy wins when Wardlow is perfectly capable of getting easy wins on his own. It's not like this is a tough match and Wardlow didn't ask for his help. This was a guy who was, at this point, fresh and hadn't done anything. It's also a guy who had zero chance of winning. So I don't even understand what's the point of Shawn Spears' interference. Wardlow powerbombs the guy 4 times, pins him. He's really getting over with the powerbombs. Right thing to do. Why they going to feed him to CM Punk? Don't know. My only guess is that Punk is probably going to talk Wardlow into quitting, and probably going to be the reason that Wardlow leaves, because Punk did say in his promo that eventually MJF is going to run out of people to hide behind. So I'm guessing Punk is going to be the guy who's going to liberate Wardlow. Probably cut this promo about how Wardlow is big and strong and fast and he's the best and he's got all this talent and all this potential and he's being held back by MJF, and he's going to, if I were you, I'd leave MJF and yada yada yada. And then maybe that will actually happen, is that Wardlow will voluntarily leave MJF. Or are we going to do things the hard way, where he's going to go in there, wrestle a real match against CM Punk, get beat, then get berated by MJF. You know, probably MJF slap him, push him, kick him or something. And then Wardlow's going to snap. I would prefer if CM Punk was able to basically talk Wardlow into turning heel. Not turning heel, but turning face. You know, save Wardlow the beating. Don't hang a loss on him. You know, there's no real reason to do that. Don't destroy his momentum. Instead, have CM Punk have a sit down with him. Just talk to him. Like, look, before we get into this match, I'll give you an option. You know, you can walk away and get counted out, you know, and that's it. Or you can wrestle this match for real, and if I beat you, you know what's going to happen. MJF is going to, you know, steal everything that you've ever earned. He's going to smack you. He's going to disrespect you like he's always been doing. You know, why go through that? Why put yourself in the way? And all I want to do is beat him up. It had nothing to do with you. And matter of fact, smart enough, I will walk away. I will get counted out or disqualified or whatever. So we wouldn't have to fight. And then put Wardlow in that position where he has to make a choice. Either he fights CM Punk on behalf of MJF and for no other reason, or he takes the easy win over CM Punk by count out. Now, of course, his pride would say, you know, hey, I'm not going to just take the count out, you know, but he might, and, you know, pride also would stop him from walking away. But if we do this thing the right way, where MJF is yelling at him and getting in his face, then we can avoid all that, because then as MJF gets in his face and starts pointing him in his chest and everything, Wardlow could just shove him and then they have their own thing, and we forgot all about the match. The match can be thrown out at that point. It doesn't matter because what they got going on is more important. There's just a lot of ways out of this that could avoid Wardlow losing. But something tells me they're just going to go with whatever way makes Wardlow look more dumb. And what makes Wardlow look dumb is him going out there wrestling on MJF's behalf and losing. And I think if they wanted to, and yes, it's a little bit of a deconstructed story, but I think at this point you do kind of need to do that in order to protect Wardlow, who has momentum. What is the point of him powerbombing guys 400 times and getting all this momentum if he's just going to get beat by CM Punk? Then he might as well, he doesn't have any heat. At this point, everybody sees him as a babyface. And, unless he's going to powerbomb CM Punk 400 times, is CM Punk going to take 5 straight powerbombs from Wardlow and then, win by, Wardlow being lackadaisical about it? That's a good angle you could play too. I would just avoid pinning Wardlow if I could. Maybe have MJF fire him. And then you have Tony Khan, maybe in a couple of weeks, he formally rehires Wardlow as a regular wrestler on the roster and not as somebody who works for MJF. Maybe you could play, if you want to do a WWE reference, this will be a good time to do it. Say MJF fires Wardlow, and then say Wardlow has a 60-day non-compete. Then that means that he can't even come back for 2 months. Then when he does come back, you could say Tony Khan has rehired him. That would be great. That would be a good way of taking a dig at WWE. But we'll see. Just pitching some ideas, man, because they're not really good at the ideas themselves. So Jade Cargill defeated Ruby Soho to win the TBS championship. Mercedes Martinez came out there to menace on Ruby Soho, I'm sorry. And then Thunder Rosa came out there and fought her off. I don't know what this was about. We didn't really need that. Jade Cargill kicked out of the detonation kick, which was, I kind of figured she was going to win it anyway. They did the Jaded from the second rope. It looked like it was supposed to be from the top rope, but Jade very smartly says, this second rope thing ain't quite working out. So going to the tippity top rope, probably not the best. They jumped off the second rope and Ruby threw her head into the mat. Like, hey, whatever. She threw her own head into the mat. That's not Jade Cargill's fault. Ruby wanted to sell it. Okay, she wanted to make it look good. All right. So, my favorite part of this whole thing, because I knew Jade was winning when they announced this secondary title, was little Jade. I don't know what her name is, but Jade Cargill's daughter being put on camera so that she could see. She looks just like her mommy too, just so she could see that Jade won the title. That was very cool. That was very touching. And the cynical side of me, if I wanted to be cynical a little bit, if I may momentarily, after all the shit that Tony Khan went through last week, are we really surprised that he found a little girl in the crowd who was black? And of course it was Jade Cargill's daughter, but we after we heard about the woke child of Big Swole, who apparently, Mommy, there's nobody on TV who looks like me. Little Jade looks just like her mommy. Both black. I mean, hey. I know that everybody was just kind of like, yay, Jade wins, and then quickly moved on. Nobody said like, But, everybody knew Jade Cargill was going to win, so it wasn't like a thing where you can call them out on it. Everybody knew Jade was going to win. Everybody knew Jade was going to win when Big Swole did this whole shenanigans. Everybody knew Jade Cargill was going to win this belt. It was done for the right reasons. So Jade Cargill, despite the fact that she's not very good, is the TBS champion. That's fine. I'm cool with it. Just book her matches better. She should not be doing things from the top rope. There's just no need for it. Ruby Soho, you don't need to book her to get thrown from the roof of the building in order to get pinned. She's 120 pounds or something like that. Jade could have beat her with a regular Jaded and called it a day. We don't have to try to make everybody look strong. It's not necessary. That was dangerous. You know that the girl is green. Don't put her in a position where she could hurt somebody else. It's one thing if she hurts somebody and she's, just being incompetent, like some other people that we know. It's a different thing when you put her in a position where she's got to do something, some special flippity do, and she ends up hurting somebody that she had no business even being in that position. Keep it simple. This match was also too long for Jade Cargill. Keep it simple, man. Later, Ruby Soho was backstage, and Britt Baker walked up to her laughing. Said that it's the second time she's proven she can't get it done. Ruby Soho then said that Britt Baker has never defended her title without help, and that she's never beaten Riho at all. This led Britt Baker and her company to jump Ruby Soho and beat her up. Then Riho came out there and made the save. Obviously, I see the tag team match coming. Not thrilled about it. All this stuff that, she hasn't beaten Riho. I've seen very little of Riho ever since this whole Battle of the Belts thing was announced. They did not let her do any promo. She hasn't had any matches or anything on TV. They basically just announced this match was going to occur, and then just was kind of like, well, there it is. They let Britt Baker talk about it. You could have had Riho cut a promo with subtitles talking about this thing. She's been essentially a non-entity in this whole ordeal. Even in this situation, you got Ruby Soho cutting the promo for her. It makes no sense. But hey, look, man, I ain't Booker of the Year. I ain't Fortel Best. I ain't Nicest MC. I ain't Cornell West. Anyway, you got Deeb, Serena Deeb. She's cutting a promo. She's talking with Jim Ross, and she's very bronzed. She has a very weird bronze to her skin. It's not even complete. Like certain parts of her body are still kind of pale. And I was like, why is only certain, like, is that orange tanner? That Trump, she got the Trump, she got that Trump bronzer on. What's going on? Anyway, she said that she's the professor because she's got a PhD in this shit. She's paid her dues, paid more dues than anybody in the women's locker room. And I was like, yep, indeed, I like that. Not only do I like that when she cut that promo in NWA. Whoops, they're like 8 months behind. She's been calling herself the professor for almost a year now. And she's been on AEW all this time. There was, I forget which event she was wrestling at when she first turned heel in NWA. It probably hasn't been a year. It's probably been about 5 or 6 months, maybe even longer, where she started calling herself the professor because she's paid so many dues and because she's a great trainer and she's done so much in the business. But her problem with Shida is that she's been trying to have civilized matches, but now it's all about maintaining her spot at the top of the division. And she asked Jim Ross if anybody is in her class, and Jim Ross said no. And I'm thinking to myself, dog, you literally just crowned another women's champion that's not Serena Deeb. So there's 2 women's champions in this company. Neither one of them are Serena Deeb. Should we be like, when she says that, is there anybody in my league? I'd be like, well, there's at least a world champion at this point. That's not you. So, I don't know. But it was good to let her get herself over. And she showed a lot more personality and a lot more fire here than she ever did before, which is really good. So I like Serena Deeb, and I like the professor gimmick. I love that for her. And from that, we go to Malachi Black kicking Brian Pillman's head off with the black mask. So Julia Hart was out there wearing an eye patch, which I was like, okay. I thought that the mist got into both eyes, but apparently it only got into one eye. Okay, cool, whatever. They had the match. It was longer than it maybe should have been, but I'm okay with it because Brian Pillman is a nice young prospect. You don't want to drop him out too heavy. So Malachi Black wins. As he was going to leave the ring, he thought about it for a moment. He came back as Julia Hart was, trying to, check on Brian Pillman. The Malachi Black was kind of haunting her a little bit. Then the Lucha Brothers come out there. And I was like, that was weird. What the Lucha Brothers want? And I was thinking, oh, okay, this is great. they're about to introduce this Brody King character. Okay, cool. So the lights go out. And I was like, all right, so I guess we're doing this now. And when the lights came back on, the amazing teleporting powers of both Malachi Black and the Lucha Brothers was on display as they had magically switched positions. That Malachi Black, who was in the ring, was now on the ramp. The Lucha Brothers who were on the ramp are now in the ring. And I said, you know what? Teleporting. It's man, look, it's a jam. If you can do it, if you got those kind of talents, baby, why wouldn't you show them off? If you can teleport, I teleport all over this motherfucker. You feel me? I mean, let's do it, man. Let's just teleport, Bamf, Nightcrawler, Bamf, all over the place. Why not? Fuck them. Who cares? That stuck in my craw a little bit. We'll talk about that in a second, though. So QT Marshall is out here. He's cutting promos. He's talking because his boy Aaron Solo, who apparently now has blue hair, no wonder Bayley dumped this guy. And he's talking about how, QT Marshall was like, oh, Hook learned everything from me. And he did nothing but, show up late, eat chips and stretch guys. But he never stretched Aaron Solo. And Aaron Solo says a really stupid version of the Taz thing where stretch me if you can, survive if I let you. And I was like, man, I couldn't. Whatever. Whatever. I'm just interested in, Hook doing his thing, continuing to get better. I'm okay with them constantly feeding him minnows. Go ahead, feed him as many small time opponents as you possibly can. Make him look as good as possible. He'll probably get the Jade Cargill treatment where he probably won't even sell anything or have to do anything for like 6 months. And it's not necessarily a negative, but I think all the memes and everything about him is really what's pushing this thing forward. Everybody is trying to meme Hook into existence. I don't know. So the main event, Jurassic Express versus the Lucha Brothers. So the Lucha Brothers, who teleported earlier, apparently teleported again backstage because they came out for their entrance. So they came out early and then teleported back to the back so they could do a proper introduction because, my God, they're the champs. They should get a proper introduction. So yes, you teleport to the back and then you come back. Of course, that's how it works. This is the match. It twisted my wig completely. I'm just like, all these midgets, they could just do whatever they want to one another and nothing matters. Jungle Boy did like a flippity-doo thing over Luchasaurus into a Canadian Destroyer. And I was just like, okay, it's not going to be that kind of match now. It was just guys doing stuff to each other, man. No thought of psychology, no thought of, hey, maybe we shouldn't. I know we can, but should we? Does it really matter? So, the Lucha Brothers go to do their finishing move, which is the sort of elevated power driver. The lights went out and nothing occurred. The lights just came back on. And all of a sudden, Jungle Boy wasn't in the move anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought that was a perfect time for Malachi Black to interfere in the match. Him and his boy, at least to get their attention, to distract them or whatever. They didn't do that either. So eventually they did hit their move, their top rope joint. And Jungle Boy kicked out because of course he did. Nothing matters. He's 180 pounds, but for Christ's sake, you drop him directly on his head. For some reason, his head is 300 pounds. And nothing that he falls on his head as much as, the next man is no problem. He also got power drives on the ring apron. And he just hit this guy like 100 power drivers, okay? And he was perfectly fine after all this. So Alex Abrahantes, he's so frustrated by their inability to beat Jungle Boy that he put a table at ringside. And everybody's like, oh, who's going to go through this table? So they go through the table spot, and Luchasaurus grabs Phoenix, and he pulls Phoenix on the other side, lifts Phoenix up, drives Phoenix through the table, and Phoenix's arm went cluck up. Just cluck up. Arm just started dangling. And everybody saw it. AEW social media team, they tweeted it out. So, yeah, everybody saw it. The entire finish was marred by the fact that everybody was like, hey, Phoenix's arm, though. What's up with Phoenix's arm, though? So then they did the finish, where Jungle Boy rolls up Penta. They get to 1, 2, 3. Jurassic Express win the tag team championships. Penta's arm, though. All right. The entire tag team locker room comes out, and Malachi Black is watching with his one wandering eye, and 2.0 and out there, and everybody's out there. And I'm like, Phoenix's arm, though. His arm broke, dog. That didn't look good. That looked like it hurt. If you want to know why Bill DeMott was so hard on this guy, look, Luchasaurus has been in the game for a long time now. It's been at least 8 years. And you want to know why Bill DeMott was calling them names and fucking with them? I mean, there it is. And it's not like this the first time the Luchasaurus been botched. Luchasaurus constantly fucks up. Constantly. He is a consistent source of fuck-ups in AEW. I mean, just look at the AEW botches account. Look how many of those guys. He is probably running neck and neck with Big Swole on that account. Well, probably not neck and neck. He probably after Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela and all them. He in the top 5, though, of people who are featured on AEW botches. And if you wonder why he had such a rough time in FCW, had such a rough time with Bill DeMott, and was getting constantly cussed out, and constantly picked on, and constantly fucked with, it's because he's not fucking good. He broke a guy's arm on national television. It is what it is, man. Look, mistakes happen. Shit happens. I get it. We don't want, to put too much blame on him. Shit happens. It's not like he did it on purpose. But at the same time, he is a consistent source of fucking up in AEW. This is not like he usually does pretty good and then he fucks up one thing and everybody's jumping all over him. He is a consistent, trusted source of fuck-ups in AEW. A consistent and trusted source of fuck-ups. Of all kinds. I'm talking bad strikes. I'm talking bad jumps. I'm talking all kinds of shit. Luchasaurus is awful. Awful. And there's no expectations put on this guy. Where it's almost like if nobody is willing to put their foot down and say, fuck this dude. What is going on? Where you're almost at least 10 years into the business and you're still not very good. Come on. Even, look, I'm a dude who, I'm more inclined to like him because he's a big muscular dude. And I'm saying he's the shits. I am more lenient on dudes who are much like Luchasaurus, who are big, muscular, young guys. He's not that old. I think he's like 34 or 35 or something like that. And I'm even more inclined to like Jurassic Express because I was saying that they should be the tag team champions. They should have been the tag team champions. This was long overdue. So I don't have a problem with them winning. I have nothing against Luchasaurus. Other than the fact that he is a consistent, trusted source of fuck-ups and bad wrestling in AEW. It is... Am I lying? If you think I'm lying, call me a liar in the comment section. State your claim. Just say you're just being mean to old Luchasaurus. No, I'm not. No, I am not. He is the shits. Every time it's not. I feel so bad for Phoenix. I feel so bad for him. But look, this is partly Phoenix's fault too. All right. So we know Bill DeMott is probably just looking at whoever he's sitting with right now, one of his friends, his wife, his kids. He's probably like, this is why I was calling them names in the performance center. Look at this fucking guy. This is why I cussed him out every week. He's a fucking idiot. But Phoenix, heavens to Betsy, somebody tells Phoenix to stop doing stupid shit. Phoenix gets hurt every other month in AEW. Phoenix has been hurt more times than anybody on the AEW roster. That says a lot because Britt Baker is hurt almost all the fucking time. I'm surprised Britt Baker ain't hurt right now. And she ain't had a match in a while. Phoenix is constantly injured. And it's because of his style. And nobody will willing to say, Phoenix, you don't need to do that. This match did not need a table spot. Didn't need it at all. For what? For what? If you'd have worked the match normally, Luchasaurus is big and muscular. Phoenix is a small cruiserweight. He could have done a short arm clothesline outside the ring and threw him against the ring steps or something like that. And that should have been him being down long enough for Penta to get rolled up and pinned. All of that would have been infinitely safer than him jumping off the fucking ring apron. But their gimmick is they want guys to jump. Do more jumps. Go ahead, break your arm, get a concussion. Tear yourself up. It's sad. On a positive note, at least he lost the tag team titles, so now they didn't have to relinquish the belts. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe they called an audible. And, they saw that he was hurt and they was like, you know what? We can't keep the belts. Phoenix is done, But it seemed like it might have been the plan anyway. On top of that, Christian, he comes out there. He's like a proud mom. And he's like, yeah, my boys did it. My boys did it. I'm so proud of you guys. And I'm like, yay, Christian. I love that for you too, Christian. You did so much work helping these guys get over, cutting all their promos for them. Making sure they got the gas in the car. Making sure they got their money. Did he pack their lunches for them too? He did 90% of the fucking work. But, whatever. I guess since that one guy got his mom driving him to work, I guess Christian's gonna drive Jungle Boy to work. Hey. Turn that music down. Whatever, man. AEW, TBS era, new era, same AEW, same horseshit that it usually is. Slightly better horseshit this week though, and most of that is the championship match, which Danielson gets me into everything that he's involved with. It's just unfortunate that he really wasn't involved in any storylines, and that he was just instead the in-ring trainer for Hangman Page. Which, if Hangman Page needed it, then he needed it. I mean, forget it. It is what it is. My question is, what do you do with him now? Yeah, he challenged Hangman Page and he lost. So what do you do now? What do you do with him now? This is the issue that AEW always finds himself in. Now, Bryan Danielson is in the same pace Malachi Black, Andrade, and Miro was in. Once they eat that first pin, now what? Now what? And that's the question going forward is, now what do you do? How do you rehab the character of Bryan Danielson, who, challenged for the world title and lost? His second world title match, third match against the world champion, he didn't win either time. How do you bounce back? Who do you put him up against in a bounce back match? I don't know. So that's Booker of the Year's problem. The MJF CM Punk thing only proves that CM Punk needs WWE in order to get over, and not the other way around. The TBS title went to the right person, Ruby. Just, it wasn't going to work out. I still don't think they need a mid-card women's title. I think they need women's tag team belts, and I think that would have been better for the women's division rather than another singles title. That's just me personally. Malachi Black looked impressive. I didn't mind Brian Pillman. That was fine. So, there's a lot of stuff on here that I didn't like, but it wasn't awful. It wasn't awful, and it didn't make me wish I hadn't watched it. So it was better than usual because of all the title matches and everything had meaning and stakes to it. So that was good. The most important matches got more time. The matches that didn't matter, either they were short or they didn't occur, like MJF and Shawn Dean. So I'm cool with it. They showcased all the stars that they have in one way or another. So I was cool with that. I could have done without the Jericho promo. Didn't really need that. But you want to make sure Jericho's on this show because, you want to throw everything you got at this first audience for TBS. You want to make sure that they see everything that you got. So I'm not mad. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.